The Chicago Bulls just tried their absolute best to give every Bulls fan a heart attack with their win out in Portland, up 21 points in the first quarter. That lead completely vanished, and somehow the Chicago Bulls walk away with a win off a Nikola Vucevic three-point shot. We're going to be breaking down that game, exactly what happened, and what's going on with the Chicago Bulls' inability to close games. We're also going to talk about this stretch of the games that the Chicago Bulls are going into where they really need to make their move, and could Ben Mathurin be on the Chicago Bulls target list? We'll talk about all that, plus dive into the mailbag right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content today, y'all. And yeah, man, I don't know what the Bulls were on last night. I don't know why the Chicago Bulls, much like the Chicago Bears, feel like they have to make every game interesting down to the final stretches. I just don't understand why they have to do that. The Bulls should have lost the game last night against Portland. Not only did they get completely worked on the boards against the Portland Trailblazers, they couldn't stop the second chance points by Portland at all. And, while the Bulls have been a team that have given up, tons of offensive rebounds as the season has gone on, right? It has allowed teams to kind of get back and stay in games and those type of things. Last night was even different than that. Like, The Portland Trailblazers, if it wasn't for the combination of 38 second chance points and 62 points in the paint, the Bulls would have probably ran away with this win. They just could not get them off the board at all to save their life. The Portland Trailblazers walk away in this game with 64 rebounds, 64 to only 38 for the Chicago Bulls. You look, if that's more kind of an even battle and where the Bulls have battled defensively before, like that's a much closer game. Like, that's what allowed this Portland Trailblazers team to get back, on top of an amazing performance from Deni Avdija. Like, Deni is just turning into a star right before our eyes, and he's one of the proofs of why sometimes players take a little bit longer to develop, and that's Deni. And you have to have the right situation, the right coaching. There are a lot of things that have to go into a player really hitting their breakout, and Deni Avdija seems like a player that's getting that done this year. And let's not to say that he didn't start showing that at the end of last year as well, but you're just seeing it's just different for Deni this year. He's averaging almost 10 points more than what he averaged per game on 6 more shots and still shooting the ball efficiently, 48% from the field. Deni had himself a great day, and that 48% is on the season, not necessarily just in that game, but he had himself a great game against the Chicago Bulls. Jeremy Grant, who set out the game before, came in. You could tell he had fresh legs as well. He scores 33 points also. So, the Bulls down the stretch of this game were a number of things that have plagued them before. These long stretches where the Bulls just cannot buy a bucket has to stop. And, Coby White being introduced back into this team, I think is going to help that some, right? But even Coby made a mistake down the stretch of the game where he almost turned over. Well, no, he did turn over the ball on a tip-off where Vucevic actually won the tip-off for the Bulls, and which should have been a fast break score opportunity for the Bulls, turned it into a turnover and a score on the other side for the Portland Trailblazers because Coby gave it up, right? Like, that's the comedy of errors that I talk about all came together to happen in this game to where the Bulls just could not seal it out. And they're going to have to get that together. The Bulls are going to have, that needs to be something that whenever the Bulls have a couple of days off, I know they don't really get in many practices over this time, but you shouldn't even have to necessarily practice. Not giving up a 21-point lead. That shouldn't be a thing. The Portland Trailblazers in the fourth quarter of this game, from the 9-minute and 6-second mark to the 13-second mark. Keep in mind, going into that, the Bulls had an 11-point lead when this run started. The Portland Trailblazers go on a 32-7 run. From the 9-minute mark in the fourth quarter to 13 seconds left in the fourth quarter, I should say. So 13 seconds left in the fourth quarter. A 32-7 run. Deni Avdija scored 13 points off that run. Donovan Clingan made the go-ahead bucket to put them up with 47 seconds left. But then the Chicago Bulls, from the 9-second mark, to the end of the game, went on a 6-0 run to end that one. And, it's great to see Coby White and Nikola Vucevic were the two that scored over that time. And this is just, it typifies the Chicago Bulls season. That's what this season has been. It's been a cardiac season already for the Chicago Bulls and a team that lost, some games that they shouldn't have, and this could have easily been another one. I always say this. You don't win all the games that you should win. You don't always lose all the games you should lose based on how you played in that game. Last night, the Chicago Bulls got a win in a game where they honestly shouldn't have, right? And, not to say that, but like Portland even had themselves at times going on a cold shooting streak at times as well. But like we've seen with the Bulls, it takes a total team effort to put the Bulls in a situation to be able to win a game, even though they should have been in a position to where they were controlling that game down the stretch of it. But they weren't. They had no answers for Donovan Clingan. For everybody who talks about the size and the height of the Chicago Bulls, it really seemed like there was a problem when it came down to it. We played 12 players in just the first half of the game. In just the first half of that game, 12 players checked in, right? So, the Bulls continue to use their depth in a way to where, they're able to win basketball games, but shit gets tight for them, man. And it gets really tough for them as well. They ended the fourth quarter up 98-82. That's a 16-point lead. And it is what it is. Like, Dalen Terry had his moments. I'll give credit to Dalen Terry. Like, that uncontrolled chaos sometimes for Dalen Terry, when it does look controlled, it definitely helps the Bulls. And we saw some controlled chaos from Dalen Terry where he was forcing turnovers, getting down on the other side of the ball, on the ball. On top of that, he was causing deflections. He did a lot of stuff in that. And it was really great to see, Dalen Terry find his path of helping this team win basketball games. You always love that. Like, Dalen is an inconsistent player, and his role has been inconsistent, but you love when he's able to find opportunities to help this team win, because hopefully that's going to help his confidence. And all of these players getting these opportunities could be something also that helps this team, as the season goes on and they get in closer games, because all these players are contributing to it. But the Bulls have to learn how to close out games. They just have to. And Billy's going to have to really make a look at those things and determine what is he trying to do? What does he need to do to fix that aspect of this team's game? Because you cannot keep coughing up leads and expect yourself to always walk out of it better if you're not getting it done. So, we'll see what happens in that one, if they're able to put that together and start, playing better. Like, we were one of the better clutch teams last season. And so you take that and you want to look at that as well. We're that, but when you look at it on the season, the Chicago Bulls in fourth quarters alone have a net rating of negative 8.7, which is 25th in the NBA. Their offensive rating is 25th in the NBA at 110. Their defensive rating is 21st in the NBA, and their true shooting percentage is 23rd in the NBA in fourth quarters. That's not going to cut it. You need to learn how to close out games. And when you look at the Bulls, like, overall on the season, they're 8th in true shooting percentage, right? 7th in effective field goal shooting percentage, 17th in net rating. But yet in fourth quarters, you fall down. You're in the top half of the league. In a lot of those areas, you fall down to the bottom half of the league when it comes down to that. You got to be able to close out games better. And until the Chicago Bulls have better fourth quarters, stop runs, and it's the combination of they give up huge runs and the late starts. We're still talking about the first. The Bulls have a negative 6.6 net rating in first quarters of games as well. Where the Bulls are great at is in the second and third quarter. The Bulls have the sixth best net rating in second quarters in basketball. In the third quarter, they have the 13th best rating and 7th best offensive rating. There's something about the first and the fourth quarters that the Bulls have to learn. You can't have slow starts and have bad finishes and expect to win at a high level in this game. You just can't. And so that's something that the Bulls really have to look at, take a tough, hard look at, is how to close out games better so that then we can be in a much better position overall. And I guess we'll see if the Bulls can do that. But with that said, I want to move on from that to talk about this next stretch of games that's coming up for the Bulls. So the Bulls go 2-1 on their West Coast trip, which is good to see, right? You come out of that with a winning record. The thing that I've said, like, win the week. That's what I want to see the Bulls do, is win the week. You're not going to win every single game, but how many weeks can you win, right? And the Bulls are in a situation right now where if they come into this game against, they already won Monday and Wednesday, so they already at least have guaranteed themselves a 500 week. Can you get at least one more win between Miami and Washington, which is your two games remaining on this week? If you can get both of those games, You have an undefeated week, right? Yeah, we lost Sunday. If you're counting Sunday into this, then they're 1-3, 1-2 right now with 2 games left to be played. I'm 2-1 right now with 2 games left to be played. So can you win the week, right? But this team is going into a much easier stretch, right? You've come out of this, right? Still, avoided a 3-0 West Coast trip. You're 2-1 on the trip. You now are still 2 games above 500, right? Which is really good. You're 8-6 on the season. And so you have this game coming up against Miami, which is always a tough game for the Bulls. They always match up well with the Bulls. It almost doesn't matter what state that roster is in or the team is. They're always very interesting games. After that Miami game, though, the Bulls go on a stretch of 7 straight games against teams that are below 500. Well, 6 out of 7 games are below 500. The Magic now are above 500 team. So we in that 7-game stretch, we play the Wizards, the Pelicans, the Hornets. We play the Pacers twice, the Magic, and the Nets, right? So that's your 7 games. And this is a stretch of very winnable games by the Bulls. Now, that does not mean in any way the Bulls can take their foot off the gas because, as we just talked about, they are one of the worst closing teams in the game of basketball in the fourth quarters, and they give up early deficits. But we're in a place now where, 7 straight very, very winnable games, and you're already right now 2 games above 500. If you win this game against Miami, you can go into that 9-6 on that stretch. There's no reason why the Bulls it shouldn't be aiming for at least 5-2 over that stretch. That's what I want to see the Bulls do. Let's just say, for example, they lose against Miami. Let's just say for that, they go into it 8-5 into that stretch. You go 5-2, right? So you come out of that 13-7. I think that's put you in a solid space, right? If you can go 14-6, you look even better for that. Right now, I'm not expecting the Bulls to go undefeated because that would be a ridiculous winning streak. And you have a letdown game in there. The Bulls have a back-to-back in there. Kobe's not going to be playing in that game. So, a 5-2 over that 7-game stretch. If you can do that, things are starting to look really good. And that's what I think the Bulls really have to aim for, is that when you go this, you come out of the West Coast trip in a solid spot. You now still have a number of games that are on the road. By the way, the thing that I did not point out of that, they have a stretch of 4 straight games on the road: New Orleans, Charlotte, Indiana, and Orlando. Those games, 4 straight games on the road. So while the Bulls will start off this 8-game stretch at home against Miami and Washington, they then go on a 4-game stretch before coming back against Brooklyn and Indiana at home, and that's where they have a 4-game home stretch. So that's lucky enough to come down for that one, right? So we'll see what the Bulls can do if they can get this done. This is an important stretch for this team, and the things over this that I do want to see is, can you hold on to leads, right? I think that's going to be really important. We know that this Bulls team is susceptible to playing down to their level of competition, which has bit them in their ass more times than not, right? To play down to that level of competition. I want to see them come through this, and how many games do you avoid playing down to your competition? I'm not expecting it to be easy. This is the NBA. Any team can win on any given night in the NBA, so I'm not coming in this saying, I need to see my Bulls have 4 straight blowouts. I would never say nothing like that. But hold on to your leads. How soundly can you play through a total 4 quarters of basketball? What do you learn about yourself over that? Over this stretch as well, theoretically, Zach Collins will come back. Coby may be off its minutes restriction and back into the starting lineup at some point over this as well. And that could be all things that really help the Chicago Bulls team as well. You have a back-to-back Friday and Saturday, Black Friday at that, against Charlotte, and Saturday against the Pacers. But other than that, these are winnable games for the Bulls. They have another back-to-back. Our next set, Miami and Washington, are back-to-backs Friday and Saturday. So let's see what this team can do, right? A lot of the opinion on this team changed after that 5-game losing streak, as it should have. No harm, no foul on that one. But now let's see how you can turn that tide again against you're on a 2-game winning streak right now. How far can this go? Can you go on another 4 or 5-game winning streak? If not, cool. But again, win the weeks. Win this stretch of games for the Chicago Bulls. 5-2 needs to be the minimum for this Bulls team, in my opinion. The absolute minimum over this stretch. Now, I say that and watch us, it goes inverse or something crazy like that, or we go 500 over that time, which is still perfectly fine. It's about keeping up the pace, and that's what the Bulls have to learn to do, and just play it more consistently, right? A couple of days ago, the Bulls were technically out of the play-in. We're now the 7th seed. So, all things fair there. The Eastern Conference is really tight. I predicted it coming into the season that we'll see another thing where between maybe the 6th seed or maybe the 5th seed to the 10th seed, It's only separated by a couple of games. When you look at it right now, from the fourth seed to the 10th seed, right now they're only separated by 1.5 games. That's how tight the Eastern Conference is. You got a team like the Toronto Raptors, which are second in the Eastern Conference right now. The Cavs and the Knicks are third and fourth in this conference. So there's still a lot of basketball left to be played. Like I said a couple of days ago, do not give up on this team. Do not count this team out. Anybody that was telling you, oh my God, the Bulls are, it was all a mirage. They're right back where we thought they were. It's way too early to count out the demise of the Chicago Bulls yet, but they got to tighten up some shit. Rebounding, we got to get together. Closing out games, we got to get better. Be able to hold on to the leads, we got to get better on. And just our execution as the game gets tight. This Bulls team cannot afford to get tense when teams go on runs, because then that snowballs and it just turns into something larger. And the Bulls got to learn to avoid that. And hopefully they can do that as the season goes on as well. And we'll see. With that said, I want to move on from that to rumor, right? Just let's have a little fun with it as things stand right now, right? So over at Pimpin' Ain't Easy, the Chicago Bulls have, Andrew Hanlon over at Pimpin' Ain't Easy has an article which talks about the Bulls possibly targeting Ben Mathurin in the offseason, saying this: complicating Mathurin's situation in Indiana is the fact that he'll be a restricted free agent at the end of the season. The Pacers have already committed long-term money to Halliburton, Nembhard, and Nesmith, all of who have overlapping skill sets. It would be a surprise for a money-conscious organization to shell out more dollars to another guard/wing. The Bulls, on the other hand, are expected to have the most salary cap space in the NBA this summer, and will make decisions on the future of White and DeSumo. Perhaps Mathurin would be a more inexpensive option. All right, let's stop there, right? So Ben Mathurin being more inexpensive, right? We know that Coby White rumoredly wants about $30 million. We haven't really heard a lot on Io, but with the way Io's playing, I'm putting his at about $18 to $20 million is what you can expect, right? Now, so let's just talk about it from the perspective of the Bulls trying to save a little bit of money. Is Mathurin in cost-saving acquisition for the Bulls? He's averaging 27.8 points per game, but he's only played 4 games this season so far. And when we look at Ben Mathurin, he's had a number of, some major injuries. 59 games played his second year, 78 games played his rookie year, 72 last season, right? And Ben Mathurin can absolutely blossom into a scorer. Can he blossom into the type of scorer that Coby White is? There's some questions there. He gives effort on the defensive side of the ball, and I'm not mad at the Bulls having contingency plans. I, for one, have mentioned Jaden Ivey as a contingency plan if Coby were to walk. Not saying that you let Coby walk to sign Jaden Ivey, but if Coby does get an offer from a different team that you don't match, could Ben Mathurin then be a somebody who can come in for either Io or Coby if they lose one of those guys in free agency? I mean, yeah, they fit the mold of young players with experience that AK's looked at it being only 23 years old. When he looked like when he was as a starter this season, there were some things that looked promising for it. I'd rather double down on the chemistry that we know Coby White and Io DeSumo have, right? But if one of those guys were to walk, there is a fit that makes sense there, right? Looks like the Pacers also may be just tanking out the rest of the season. Mathurin could help the Bulls, right? But wings aren't necessarily the Bulls' biggest acquisition. Before the Bulls worry about changing their wings, I want to see them go after and pursue a big man, right? You look at Kevin Huerter and how he's been on the bench. Patrick Williams has been solid off the bench as well. I think that the Bulls sitting in a place right now where things are pretty good on the wing. I'm not saying that they're great on the wing. You also have Noah Essengate coming in who could push Modest to the 3, which could take some of those wing minutes as well, right? And so Mathurin is an intriguing option for the Bulls. I wouldn't say that he's one of my favorite options for the Bulls, if that makes sense, though. He can create shots for himself. He can do that. He's not necessarily the biggest create for other people guy like an Io and Coby can do some of, right? And so I think that's the thing that you have to look at in all this as well. I'm not out on the proposition of Ben Mathurin. Like I said, it just would have to be a unique set of circumstances there. But let me know what you guys think on that down below. Hearing this article from Andrew Hanlon, I'll link it in the description down below if you want to read the full article. Would you be interested in Ben Mathurin in the summer of 26 for the Chicago Bulls? Let me know that down below. With that said, we got one voicemail that we need to get into after the game, and this one from my brother Corn.
What's the good word? King Drip, it's your brother Corn, man. Hey, let's get right into this shit, man. This West Coast trip was so fucking fun, right, y'all? I want to talk about that and what we did in these games. First of all, we should have went 3-0. I'm gonna just start from that right there. Should have went 3-0, but we got the record that we want. We went 2-1 on this very tough West Coast trip. Now, we know that our Bulls can't close for shit. We saw our Bulls get out rebound, offensive rebound, crazy in this Portland game. Shout out to Donovan Cleveland, right? Over 20-something rebounds, right? We withstand a Jokic onslaught. We went double overtime with Utah. Now, the guy, I know Chip don't remember his name, that went off on us, right? We have to be patient with this team. We have to be patient with Billy. And I know people go hate when I say this. Sit back and be patient with Vuce as well. Let this team get to know each other. We still are just building. And look at us, man. Look at us, man. Shout out to Coby. Y'all know how I feel about Coby. Shout out to Coby, man. But the end all be all. We don't know how to close right now. It's cardiac bull session all goddamn game right now, right? But we got to understand that they're young and they're still learning. And it's still very early. And we are beating really, really good teams, man. And I am proud of this team. Just proud of them, man. Like I said, man, I'm having fun, man. I hope y'all having fun. Win, lose, or draw, I am having fun watching this version of the Bulls team, man. Because they just go out there and give it their all. Even though they make dumb, boneheaded mistakes like they did this fourth quarter on weird turnovers, but they're young. All right, King Drip, see red, peace, blessings.
The Bulls can't close, man. You're right. They're the second youngest team in the league, minus Vuce being on this roster, and we are still learning to win. But, at the same time, you have to close out games. Like, it would be different if this team was just like a team like the Wizards. They're learning how to win, meaning that they play tough. They just can't beat some of the competition. They don't get the amount of leads that the Bulls get, right? Like, this is a team that, while, yeah, they're young, they're still experienced on this team. Coby has a ton of experience. Io has experience. Josh Giddey has tons of experience, right? Even though these are younger players, they still have experience. You have to be able to close out these games. And I hope that they can, right? But this season, like you said, it's been a fun season. I'm not out on the season at all. I think this is going to be a season where the Bulls can compete to maybe avoid the play-in, but they got to learn to close out games to get there. They got to learn to get teams off the boards to get there. And let's hope that they can do. Billy Donovan, Dan Craig, Wes Unseld, John Bryant, they got their work ahead of them to help this team learn to get over that hump. And if they do, there could be a lot of wins on the other side of that. And let's hope that we see that. But that's my time for today, guys. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. You guys already know you are the best part of this team. While this team has still a lot left to learn about closing, the benefit is they are 8-6 right now, and they're still above 500, right? And, there's a real concern about how this team is blowing leads. And we'll see, right? I want to hear from you guys. How concerned are you about these leads blown by the Chicago Bulls? As always, make sure you guys hit the like and subscribe button. Hit the notification bell if you always want to know when we're posting. You can follow us at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. BullsCentralPod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. And like I did in every episode on, stay safe out there. Always go Bulls and see red, y'all. Love you guys. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.